Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're listening to Kimla and Company right here on Beacon of Light Radio. Thanks so much for hanging in there with us tonight on Triple Crown Thursdays. We have got a wonderful lineup right here on Beacon of Light Radio. You know, we've got so many new programs popping in, great hosts coming in. Do yourself a favor and go to the homepage at Beacon of Light Radio and check out all the scheduling and see what else is going on. And we always have some last-minute surprise pop-ups where we're doing readings or we'll be discussing something, or we have impromptu shows as well. So make sure that you either friend myself or your favorite host on Facebook so that you will be getting a notification of that. We have a fabulous show. Oh, man, I have got someone in the house that you're going to absolutely love. A very sensitive friend of mine. You know, it takes a lot to be a historian. Let's put it that way. It takes a lot to be a historian. And when you're a young historian, I think it really says a lot. And my friend from the UK, he is an English radio presenter himself, but he's also a very young historian of the entertainment industry, whether it is music, TV, or film. And so we're going to talk to, and you know what, and he's very spiritual as well, so I know you're going to absolutely adore him. His name is Andrew Wilbury Smith, and I'm going to bring him out in a little bit, and we're going to have fun about talking about music, what your favorite bands are, or your celebrity, or your favorite film star, and all of that good stuff. So if you would like to join us in the chat room, that's where it's all happening. We're ready to rock and roll. Come on over to the Facebook chat page, and it's easy. You just go to Facebook in the upper left-hand corner. You just type in Beacon of Light Radio Chat, and my beautiful, talented, intuitive producer, Charity Minton, thank you so much for being our producer this evening. She is going to let you in the room. And we're also going to be taking calls as well. So if you have something to write with, you might want to take down the number. The number is 1-260-222-6490. Again, 1-260-222-6490. You're going to need the conference number, and that is 2231-9951. Again, the conference number is 2231-9951. I want to say hey to everybody filing in right now. Bridget's here, Vonda's here, and I know Mr. Bill is listening, and my sister Carla's listening, Amy's listening, Sheena's listening. We have got Albert is also listening this evening, and we've got a lot of people that pick up the show. In case you're missing it at the moment, they can pick up the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud.com, or you can go to my website, KimlaDodds.com, and you can always listen to the shows there as well. What's shaking? What's going on? We've got so much going on right now. It's so intense, and I've been talking about everything that's been happening in the Star Update. And I think it's just a little overwhelming every single week we go into it. But, you know, go back to the replays, because I have gone over every zodiac sign, how the eclipse is going to affect you. So catch up on the shows or just listen to them again if you'd like. But tonight I thought it'd be really, really fun to talk a little bit about the Star Update. But really most of this particular hour is going to be with my guest. So without further ado, I'm going to start the Star Update. We're going to cruise through it really quick so we can get to my special guest. So let's start out with the Star Update. Okay, everybody, this is Thursday, and we're in July. This is July 26th, and yesterday on Wednesday, July 25th, we had Mercury, the messenger. Mercury is this planet that rules communication and business, commerce and trade, machinery, things like that, transportation it rules. Well, it decided to stand still and go into retrograde. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people don't like when Mercury goes into retrograde because they have to do everything twice. Everything seems to kind of upset the apple cart a little bit. And it's true. It is now in the sign of Leo, the fiery sign of Leo. So a lot of things are going to be considered. We've got all this fire energy around us, and we are going to learn how to contain fires. There's going to be a lot of more research about all the fires that are out of control at this moment. So if you have any loved ones who are fighting fires out there, God bless, and let's put Archangel Michael right on their shoulder and make sure that they are safe and sound. But hi, Sheila, how you doing? And Andrew, he popped right into the chat room. He's feeling comfortable. And so, yeah, that's that fiery energy. So getting back to Mercury in retrograde, we turn inward a little bit and we realign ourselves. So any word that you can redirect, reorganize, reconnect, redesign, revisit, anything with a re in front of it, boy, that's retrograde, right? So this is a perfect time to learn something, teach something, wonderful time to go to class, wonderful time to go and connect with people from your past. You're going to hear from them. You're going to hear wonderful messages. You're going to find things that you've lost, and you might lose things that are very close to you in your everyday activities. So make sure that, your cell phone, your laptop, your pocketbook, your briefcase, those are your keys, those kinds of things. Make sure that they're in a safe place on you at all times. Alrighty, these are the kinds of times when some things may break down, the machinery, right? Transportation, cars may break down, TVs, washing machines, refrigerators, those kinds of big items, they might kind of give you a run for your money. Well, we don't recommend that you make any out-of-the-way big purchases unless you seriously have to. And, and I always say, if you're going to buy if you're going to buy a home during Mercury retrograde, then make sure when it's time to give it up and sell a home, it's during Mercury retrograde. And that's how I'm going to end that. But if you have any questions or you're having a hard time with with all of these energies, go to my website and click on select your session. And I'd love to spend time with you. I have hourly sessions this particular month, and because we need them. There's a lot of energy going on out there. So, hey, and today we've got this we've got the sun that's opposing Mars. Mars is also in retrograde. So today might have been a little bit of jittery. It's kind of that stop and go, stop and go. You might have felt very anxious, or some anxiety may have come up. These particular days are going to be they're going to be those kinds of restless sleep nights. You may even wake up. I wake up at 3 o'clock. Mr. Bill always says to me, must be 3 o'clock. I look at the time. Yes, it's 3 o'clock. And there I am awake thinking, okay, if you have any messages for me from the other side, please give them to me quickly so I can get back to sleep. But anyway, you too might be having some restless sleep, some amazing, colorful, weird, off-the-track dreams right about this time as well. So let yourself go through this process. Be kind to yourself. Surround yourself with a lot of water, something to balance out all of that fire, right? All righty. So tomorrow we're gearing up, and I've tried to prepare my listeners and all of my clients and my students for this really powerful full moon total lunar eclipse. It's in Aquarius. And this particular eclipse has its ruling sign of Uranus really on the other side. So it's bantering with just about every other planet. Okay, so it's one of these things where Uranus really takes charge of the surprise that's happening in your life. So I can take a look at your chart and say, hey, I can pin this down pretty closely, but the universe does not want me to tell you what it is. You need to be surprised. You need to have that shock effect so that it can shift something in you. It can inspire you. It can stir your imagination. And this is exactly what this particular eclipse is going to be. Things you don't need are suddenly going to go into thin air and exit stage left from your life. That includes friends as well. That includes belief systems. That includes things that maybe you've heard as gospel all your life. Now, all of a sudden, this whole new wave of beliefs and truth come in, and you're just like, how am I going to deal with this now? I mean, this has been in my family. This has been in part of almost my DNA and my brain for so long. And now this whole new thing is going to come into play. Leave yourself open, breathe, use the oxygen so it can relax you, and it can actually relax your mind so that you can really get a handle on all the new shifts and all the new changes. They're definitely coming up. The good news is Venus, the planet of love, is going to be trining, like a little pyramid. It's going to be trining Pluto, the planet of transformation. Our hearts are going to transform. The love that we all feel for ourselves, for each other, for the planet, for the animal kingdom, for the underground, for the above, it's all going to be transformed. It's supposed to. It's divine timing. And this is the thing that we're being protected. So as long as we're in touch with our hearts, and we are able to open up that heart chakra, and we are able to just love unconditionally, just let it pour out with no boundaries, it's going to pave the way in gold for this particular eclipse to take shape in each of our lives. So I really do love that a lot. On Saturday, on Saturday, the moon is still going to be in Aquarius. We're still going to have this, fallout. We're still going to feel this wonderful eclipse and this, we're going to feel really sensitive. We're going to feel very dramatic. I feel as though if you have any type of allergies, be very protective, and if you have little children that are perhaps traveling or going to some type of activity, make sure that you wrap them in some white light or silver little armor before they leave, and protect them. Protect yourself as well when you get into your vehicle for driving. Protect your car. I'm always a big one, if you're going to start doing this particular type of work, it's great to dive in there and get all this validation that you're connecting with people or their energy, but you need to protect yourself. Don't forget that very, very important part, especially now when we are having a very, very long eclipse, one of the longest ones in 100 years. And not just that, but the veil is very, very thin. So we want to be protected against any lower frequencies that we really don't want to entertain at this particular time. So Saturday night, the moon is going to be in Aquarius. I really feel that we should go celebrate the full moon in a full moon celebration. And what better way that we can do that is through music, through a drum circle, through something that really is soothing to the soul. If it's movement for you, then celebrate the full moon with that. If it's being lost in fantasy, see some type of animation movie or sci-fi movie or something that's really going to take you out of this particular resistance towards the shift. I really like getting creative on Saturday. So my date night's going to be Friday with the celebration. and include something of Mother Earth. Help Mother Earth. Be a channel to Mother Earth so that you can do that through any kind of nature or flowers, or taking your animal companions out, or perhaps just viewing the beauty from a high point like a vista, or maybe just going by a lake where you can really feel those tides and that energy. Okay, I really feel like Saturday is one of those days where Venus is still going to be trining Pluto, so we're still going to feel very intense about love, intense about what love has done to us if we're going to be a victim, or how love has improved us, how we've gotten through some kinds of love experiences so that we can heal. And this particular shift is going to bring about a total healing, not just for the human race, but really for the entire cosmos. This is really going to be really fun. And we've got on Sunday, the 29th, the Aquarian moon is really all day is going to be void of course. It's going to be a bit flat. It's going to kind of buzz out, so to speak, and bring in on Sunday night, it's going to bring in this wonderful Pisces energy. And we're going to, really kind of feel as though we are going to be more compassionate with ourselves about what's coming up, about the news you have heard over the weekend. And you are going to be very compassionate about your dreams and your intentions for the next week as we prepare to bring in the next month of August. So I'm going to be talking to you next week. I'm going to have another wonderful guest on. We're going to lighten it up a little bit, but we are going to be bringing in August, and that month is also holding an eclipse for us. That's a little bit lighter, a little bit grander, but just as dramatic, and don't think it's not. So there you go. If you are needing some type of counseling, or you're feeling as though you've got some decisions to make while we are shifting at this particular time, remember, I can be located at KimlaDodds.com, and just go ahead and book an hour for me, and we'll get it all sorted out. I'm here for you, okay? All righty, let's get this party started. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight, and I'm just gonna get in there. So turn your mic on, Andy, and everybody, welcome my sensitive friend, Andrew Wilbury Smith. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Kimla. It's good to be with you on your show at long last.
My goodness, listen to that accent. I love it. I love it.
Hey.
I know it's late. I know it's late, and I do appreciate you losing some sleep to be with all of us and entertaining us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I very rarely get that much sleep because I'm always on the go with music and everything like that.
So tell me, okay, so did you have a musical family? Did your parents play musical instruments, or?
Oh yes, absolutely. We're very musical background. My dad was in many groups from the 60s and the 70s. He was in quite a couple of bands. So he worked the circuit around various places in England and in Germany as well. He worked over there for a while. And, so he started to really collect a lot of music that's got into his collection that I later found. And my mum played the piano. She was more into the classical side of music. So my dad was more rock pop, and my mum was more classical. And I do have a brother as well who's also very musical. So it just keeps flowing, really.
Wow. Well, that's a nice mix to start out with. So what was the age when you found, your dad's music, and you started kind of relating and putting two plus two together there?
I think he was very young, a very young age, probably 7 or 8, when I started to really take notice of a lot of things, and I discovered my dad had a lot of vinyl, lots of vinyl singles and albums, and it was very eclectic as well, which is probably where I became interested in lots of eclectic things later on. And so, yeah. So,
I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I know what that's kind of like, because I think I was at the age of 5, and I had an older sister that watched a television program, and it was Dick Clark's Bandstand. And I couldn't wait for her to come home from school so we could watch all the bands. So at 5, I knew how to jitterbug, and I knew all the bands that were going on. So I started out my record collection at the age of 5. So that was a tender age for you. So yeah, you got off to a good start.
Yeah, and you know, I eventually discovered, I mean, I was really into a lot of 60s music at that time when I first started. So, you know, it was the early 90s when I was at young age. So, you know, most of my peers I couldn't really relate to with the kind of music I was listening to, because it was 60s and 70s. But, you know, it just seemed to connect with me more, a lot of the bands from that time. And it just seemed, the 60s seemed like an incredible decade, you know, researching back and looking at everything that went on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. It changed. It was a game changer. It was a frequency changer, definitely. And it shook the world. And I'm so happy that, you know, you've retained all of that information. Now throughout your particular growing up years and things like that, did you also get into a band yourself?
No, not really. I never really. It was more listening to music than anything else. But I do play. And I do play various instruments, guitar, and I played a lot of drums when I was young. I learnt the drums very quickly, and but it was just mainly through doing it for my own benefit, really. But I never really got into any sort of groups or anything like that. I was just I started to be more fascinated with history of music more than anything. So it was slightly different to my dad and my brother, who were mainly entertainers in what they do. So, you know, I was more that side.
Right. So what inspired you to become a radio presenter?
It was just something, you know, I have so much music that I've collected since I've been young until now. I've just got such a vast, you know, collection of music, and it's most of it's really obscure and odd. And you know, when I listen to other shows, I suppose you call it like mainstream shows now on the radio, you don't hear a lot of you know, sort of the underground thing that's going on. It's much more what's happening, which is fine, you know, but there's all sorts of other things going on. And I like to share that with people, and, you know, introduce them to different kinds of musics, you know, because it's not just one genre with me. It's, you know, it's all sorts. I just love music so much. I'm interested in anything, you know, that you know, touches me, really. And yeah, and it's more spiritual, and it's more of my spiritual side of. That's what music is to me. It's very spiritual and it's a personal thing to people. Yeah. And you know, that's why it connects so much and unites everybody. And I found that fascinating. And
absolutely.
Just wonderful.
Absolutely. And, you know, I kind of feel your vibe a little bit, and I feel like you have this, uh, kind of a empathy for people, and when you're an empath, you feel the music, you feel how it affects people, so you feel those people feeling the music too. So it's kind of like
Yes.
you're like overwhelmed with all these feelings. And but you can feel
Yeah.
the impact that it's having on people, which is really, you know, a double dose, which is really fabulous. But yeah, I think that can be a little bit overwhelming, and it is spiritual. I mean, you know, the soundtrack of your life, when you really go back and play that, you know. I mean, I know I do, and I'm sure that other people do, but it brings me right back to that moment in my timeline of, you know, when I remembered that tune and what I was doing and how I felt emotionally. And, you know, does it work for you that way too?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. There's you know, there's always certain periods in your life where then a particular song or a record means something to you. And that's always happening. It happens in everybody's lives, and I think that's fantastic that you can, you know, if you're going through a difficult time, you know, a bad patch, you know, a certain record or a certain song can help you during that time, and that's I just love that. And it happens with me all the time. You know, there's always certain songs from that period of your time. You think, oh, that got me through that period. You know, or that musician, that artist really helped me through that time. And it's always been the case with me. It's always been music that's really got me through everything, really. From when I've been young to now. And I can always see it with everybody else.
You know, I know that you go to a lot of
people.
I know you go to a lot of concerts, and I know that you, you know, you see a lot of bands and you see new people coming up and things like that. But, you know, the older bands and things like that, have you ever gotten a chance to perhaps tell people, you know, hey, this song, you know, really means a lot to me or anything like that?
Yes, sometimes it's difficult because yeah, that's a strange one. There's always been, yeah, I have connected with artists as well when I've been to gigs, and which I do go a lot to. You may have noticed.
Yeah, I do. Make sure you friend Andy on Facebook. He's always somewhere. Having a great time. I'm like, this guy has the best time ever. Well, good for you. You know, I got to tell you a quick story, because I was over in Hawaii with a friend of mine, and you know, we just got off the beach and we went over to have a little refreshment, and the little band started up, but it wasn't a little band. It was name band people, and it was all authentic Hawaiian music. And she busted into tears like right away. And I said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And she said, "I know who's playing. I know who that is. 15 years ago, I lost my father, and I came to Hawaii, and this band and this man played this song, and I bought the CD, and I listened to it over and over and over again, so it would really give me some relief from the grief of losing my dad." And here we are, 15 years later, in this little tiny cafe, outdoor cafe in Hawaii, and there's that band, and here's that guy. And she ran up to him and told him that. And he gave her the biggest hug ever. I just had to say that because it really meant a lot to her, and it meant a lot to me to see her so happy. So I think the artists like to know that, right?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, there have been artists, like I was about to say, I've seen artists that I've said that you know, your music's meant a lot to me, and this record is really got me through, you know, quite a difficult period, or you know, a certain period in my life, and you can just say how and that's really resonates with them when you say that to them. It's the connection happens, and you know, it's just a nice thing to see, you know, to connect with that artist's you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw it right in front of my eyes, so I know that
Yeah.
it's really heartfelt, it's really authentic, the connection. So, yeah. Well, what bands, or, I mean, I know that you have so many, but there's got to be a band that stands out where, it clicked with you, or you really followed them, or, is there a specific band that really kind of changed your life?
Absolutely, I have no problem with that. That is the Beatles.
Yay!
They really just changed my life for the better. I discovered them. I think this all stemmed from my dad as well when I was younger. He bought their album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I think I was 7 or 8 at the time, and I just really fell in love with that album so much, and it just really resonated with me, and the lyrics, and the love of this band. The energy of this band that was coming off, like they were just giving out love all the time in their music, and no other band kind of said it as much as the Beatles for me, really. And from then on, I've always been a huge fan of their work, and their influence on many people is just astounding. And I can see it, all the work that they did in the 60s, just for that short period of time that they were together, is just amazing. And it still goes on to this day. And their music has really helped me, really helped me through a lot of difficult times and good times, of course. So yeah, they're the band for me.
So being, living over in the UK, have you gone up to Liverpool and kind of done the tourist route up there?
Yes, I went a long time ago now. I did go around Liverpool and the areas like the Cavern, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, the spots, and around John Lennon and Paul McCartney's houses that are now National Trusts. And it's for anybody that gets up there, I recommend that trip. It's a fabulous trip, in the journey,
Right.
of the Beatles and the band and the music and their beginnings.
Right.
And it's important. I think it was an important time in music. And the way that music's gone now, the way that their influence is still going on now, and I recommend it highly to anybody.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like each new generation, I think, is gonna, kind of rediscover the Beatles. Just like a lot of other major artists. But so, how did you feel about the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, well, I wasn't much of a more fan of the Rolling Stones than the Beatles, but I appreciate their work, and I do like. I'm more into their late 60s, early 70s work than most. But there was a rivalry at the time. But I mean, it's great music and great songs. And I've never got a problem with it, even if it doesn't appeal to me. A group that can be quite big or popular. There are quite a few that don't appeal to me, but I can see how it touches other people, and I've not got a problem with that at all, really. So.
Right. So Charity's in the chat room, and she says, I feel that there were two kinds of people: Beatles people and Stones people. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think there still is to a degree. There is a lot of. I've been in many arguments about it, about who was. But when you look at the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, in the 60s they were good friends with each other. They were really good friends, and they hung out at events, and so this rivalry kind of just happen in people's minds, really, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both, I mean, they were both creative bands, and they both created great music, but I always felt that the Beatles kind of went a step further in their experimentation and what they did with music and sounds, and introducing instruments to into the pop world at that time.
Yeah, and I really felt a connection when they started expressing themselves through their spirituality, learning meditation, TM, all that. I felt like, oh, there's something besides just, cute little tunes, that they're really starting to get into more of a spiritual connection, and you could hear it later on. I didn't get that from the Rolling Stones, but I certainly did from the Beatles. For myself, being in the States, when I was a little girl until I was about 17, I lived in a place in the middle of the States, and in the northern part, Wisconsin and Ohio, and we really didn't have an ocean around us. And when the Beach Boys came on the scene, I remember just gazing at the covers of their vinyl records and just going, oh, I wonder what an ocean's like, what an ocean smells like, or anything like that. So it was really a dream for me. So every single Beach Boys song meant something for me. I was kind of nerdy at the time. I stayed in my room a lot, read a lot. I had friends and everything, but it was kind of, I developed into a cool kid, but in the beginning, I certainly was not the cool one in the family. But I really related to the Beach Boys. I don't know if anybody else does out there, but did you appreciate the Beach Boys and their contribution?
Oh yes, absolutely. They're definitely one of my favourites as well. But yeah, definitely had a. It was strange because it was over the other side of the Atlantic, and with the beach and everything that was going on in their music. But yeah, that Brian Wilson, the main songwriter, he was a genius, absolutely, in the music he created in his mind. And another pioneering band. Absolutely. Pet Sounds. Was one of the albums that it was the first album I heard by the Beach Boys, and it just, I just remember first listening to it, first couple of listens, and the end of it just being in tears, just crying, because it was such a beautiful piece of work, and it still is, and it still gets you. God only knows, an incredible piece of what. Just saying the title alone just gets you.
I know.
Yeah.
Really on that higher frequency that I think a lot of us light workers were, kind of drawn to. So did you get into the heavy metal and the real rock? We've got a couple of questions here in the chat room about Pearl Jam or Nirvana and those kinds of bands. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the heavy rock started in the, I think, slightly late 60s, early 70s, when it started to, we had bands like Cream, Led Zeppelin, that kind of influenced later on with bands like you mentioned, Nirvana, and I was really into that, and they called it the grunge movement, they called it in the 90s when Nirvana came along, and yes, it was an exciting. It's like the 60s. We had the psychedelic period, and then the 70s we had the punk, which was exciting and challenging, and and then we had like grunge and that in the 90s. And I always liked the kind of music. I always like is very, very challenging and very. Experimental, suppose, or kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. That's kind of always been in my mind of what I kind of like really in music.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I saw. Now I'm kind of an old goat here, but I saw David Bowie. David Bowie in high school, in a concert in high school, and he really impacted me. I was fortunate enough to be 15, and that was my first international trip, was to do the UK and be in London and all of that. So that really had an effect on me. Wow. The unisex and all of that. It was just, something that was a different way of expressing your creativity. And it was just amazing for me. I was very much impacted by David Bowie.
Yes, he was an incredible person in what he did in music and what he, just what he did. Yeah, it was such a sad loss when we lost when we lost him. It was fun. It was just strange. It was a strange period when he passed on, because a lot of people. It was almost like when John Lennon passed away. It was kind of, people became very united because it was such a big thing. David Bowie's music was such an important part of people's lives. Yeah. In connecting. Even if you weren't a massive fan of his work, he was there, and he was always there. So it was like that. It was just, and I remember at the time feeling very strange, like he's just sort of, he was there one minute and then he's not the next.
Yeah, like a hole. Yeah, like you ripped your sweater or something, and now there's a big hole there. And someone that in the chat room, Mr. Bill says, don't forget about Bob Dylan. He was very huge here in the States. Was he that huge in the UK as well, Bob Dylan?
Yeah, I think he became probably more into the mid '60s because he did a lot when he went electric. And a lot of people were not very happy about that. Yeah. He was doing a lot of venues over here in the UK at that time, and I think. Yeah. But I think it took a bit of time, because it was more Dylan was more appreciated in America than over here. Looking at the history, but definitely more appreciated now in the UK now. Bob Dylan, because he still does a lot of UK shows. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was, a huge movement here in the Motor City in Detroit. We had James Brown and the Supremes and, on and on and on. We had this huge Motown movement, and that was huge as well. And I think that was really, really big going on. And then, we had the Elton John thing, in the UK going on. It was like, we just had the best music, I swear, from all the generations. I really think, when I look back and I think, oh my gosh, it was just something that was just thrilling, right? I mean, every time you turned on the radio, it was just so thrilling to see something else coming on. And Charity says, I love Sir Elton. Yes, there you go. And you watch them, as you watch them age, you watch them go through their ups and downs and their returns, or sometimes they retire and then they decide, okay, now I'm going to, get the band back together and we're going to go out again. And like the Eagles, I saw their last tour where they were all together, thank God. And they were huge for me. Was there another band for you that perhaps you were able to kind of, I don't know what I want to say, but cross all boundaries with, when you kind of think about, a band or a single artist that really crossed a lot of boundaries?
Oh, that's a really tough one. Really. Oh, you put me on the spot there, Kimla. But I just love so many things, and it's just hard to really pick, because the Beatles have always been the main one. that have always resonated. But and another kind of music that really, I would say, probably personally is my favourite genre is probably the French kind of music. I love. We had a lot of in the early '60s, a lot of French singers, songwriters, or more singers, came over. People like Serge Gainsbourg and Franz Gall, who was one of my favourite singers ever, who sadly recently passed away.
Oh,
And I just love the French, the music, and I loved it, and that developed into the film because I became more obsessed with the French new wave. They call it new wave films that I loved from the '60s. I just love that period, and it helped me learn a lot about life. I think that those kind of films helped me understand life more. So I think that kind of music, that kind of genre of music is probably.
I don't know what the name of this song is, but it was in the film Broadcast News, and it was a French tune, and I just latched onto it like crazy. I think it was the special edition, I think, is what the song was, but it was just. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So, there's so many people who are in the chat room right now, and they're throwing out all of their favorites as far as Elvis and The Doors, and somebody says there's no comparison. Jim Morrison was very intense. Oh, they're having a real great conversation here. About who's their favorite and why, but but I mean we can't forget Michael Jackson, right?
Oh yes, Michael Jackson. Oh, it really is such a shame about Michael. He was just such a talented entertainer and writer, and it's just you were going on about artists who really had quite sad times, really tough times in their life. Like I think you sent me a film of Amy Winehouse, and
oh yes, I did. Yes,
and it's just so sad. It's just there's such talented, great people, and they're, and it's really sad, the demons that they have to deal with, and maybe the pressure of the fame and that, and the fame is just something that I find really weird in with people. It's the people that want to grab after you all the time, want everything from you, and obviously I don't know what that's like for them. It must be awful, but Michael Jackson created a lot of, especially his dancing. I think he was one of the original ones to, the way that dancing is now. That he was very creative.
Yeah, I loved his music as well. And what, and you're also about television and film, and and I must say, I'm sorry I missed this when we were talking about the Stones, but it's Mick Jagger's birthday today, so happy birthday, Mick. But films that bring together a huge amount of songs that mean so much for that era, like Forrest Gump, where every single scenario, they put a song in there that just hit it just right. You know what I mean? It was oh my gosh, it was just like that was the song for that exact time in space. It was just like wow. So I love it when 2001 Space Odyssey. You hear that world. It's there's nothing like it. It thrills you down to your soul. And, so I'm really a big fan about music and film combining the experience, for the watcher, the listener, whatever, participant, I guess. But I really like when they combine that. Do you have a
Mm.
specific film where, the music really meant a lot?
Um, yeah, um, there is one movie. By Stan. Strangely enough, born on this day, Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, yeah,
So,
Clockwork Orange.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, he did a film called Barry Lyndon,
Oh, okay.
and the music in that I absolutely love. It's all classical pieces.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, and it's just the music was just it seems to be chosen just right for the picture and the imagery and the way that the movie moved along, and it was just the music just seems powerful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of one film I think stands out with music and imagery.
Hmm.
But I've always been obsessed with music and imagery in the way they can combine. Um, I love that.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. I love a score that, that just enhances the scene and
Mm.
makes you want to go out and buy it just sticks in your head like all the time. Like, I remember an old film, it was called Alfie. What's it all about? Alfie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I remember like we all sang that for probably 2 years. you know, and maybe when we were younger, we didn't even know what we were talking or singing about, but it was just something that would like touched us. It's kind of funny when you're a kid and you're being influenced by your parents' music. By the way, your dad's in the chat room. Welcome, Mr. Smith. It's nice to see you. And you're being influenced by perhaps your brothers or your sister's music, or your parents' music, or whatever it is. You may not even understand the words or the lyrics, but it's just something that grabs you, or makes you feel something. I remember Bobby Darin, his single "Mac the Knife." I had no idea what that meant. I sang every single word. I think I was 5 or 6, and that was my second 45 record in my collection, was Mac the Knife. And you know how you sing some songs and you don't even care, you just make up your own words, but you kind of fit them in, so maybe they are the same. I don't know if anybody over there does that, but we certainly do here on this side of the pond, believe me. We definitely do. And I love how, some songs bring out different dance movements too, right?
Mm.
Yeah, like, I don't know, there was the twist, let's just say that one with Chubby Checker. He brought the twist across the globe, and everybody, was doing that. And there's been, of course, a lot of them as well. So let's hit all the genres here. So TV scores, even commercials and jingles have that music that you always associate with the product, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. TV themes is another one that just sticks in your mind. Certain TV themes stick in your mind. Again, I'm being put on the spot because there's so many.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because we probably have different things over here than you have in your or anybody that's listening has in their particular countries and things like that. But you mentioned that your father, who is in the chat room here, that your father also took his band and played in the country of Germany. Did you ever get a chance to go to the Cavern over there, or some of the spots that the Beatles played in?
No, unfortunately, I've never been there. Because that's a period that I really like about the Beatles' career.
Yeah,
where they were just starting, and that was really their first trip to play lots of venues.
Right.
and learn their craft really in entertainment and what they did later on. But strangely, they were talking about the Rolling Stones. The Beatles were pretty rough in their act, what they were doing then, than they were later when they wore suits and things like that. They were much more. They were into the leather and things like that. That was Germany, so.
That was that before Brian Epstein started kind of controlling the group. Yeah.
He made them much more acceptable to people, I suppose. But
right.
I don't think John Lennon took too kindly to it. But
right, he was a little rebel, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and we counted on him to be that puzzle piece in the band. But, I heard this story, so tell me if this is right. So when they were in Germany, they did not have Ringo Starr as their drummer, and Ringo was with another band that was a little bit bigger at that time. Is that correct?
Yeah, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. That was the name of the band that Ringo was in. And they were a big band at the time, and they were playing the circuits that the Beatles were playing, because the Beatles had Pete Best, their drummer at that time. It was Pete Best, and he was a good drummer, but I think they when they got Ringo later, I think they just got on with Ringo a little bit more better, and Ringo had quite a personality and still does to this day. They became really good friends, and Ringo is quite a star in his own right, if you pardon the pun. But yeah.
Oh, we're all stars, aren't we? We just don't have the last name, the surname,
Yeah.
Oh my! Well, talking about the Beatles, I've got to ask you, and I'm not going to ponder about this, but everybody comes up with stories about what happened to Paul in 1960. What was it, 66? What's your take on all that? I mean, you were there then, and you've heard it come and go and come and go and come and go. How do you feel about it? What's your gut instinct? What does your intuition tell you about all of that?
And it just really goes over my head, that kind of thing. Yeah, the conspiracy that Paul McCartney passed away in 1966. It was supposedly was, and was replaced. It was just crazy times when you look at it. Very strange. I can never work that one out. But when there's been interviews with Paul, he's just laughed it off, really. Like it just, there was all sorts of rumours going around with the Beatles, and there still is to this day, of why they got Ringo and why they sacked their other drummer, and was it things like that. It was just it was just something I've never really taken to that much, really.
Yeah. So and both of John Lennon's boys were expressing themselves through music. Are they still doing it? About Julian and oh gosh, I don't know. Sean, that's it, Sean. Yeah. Are they still putting things out today? Yeah,
they are. I think Julian has quite a few albums out. And he does a lot of paintings as well. He's an artist as well in his own right. And Sean, who I really do like Sean's music. He's very creative, very experimental in what he does in his music. Probably inherited that from his father, maybe a little bit. So, but creative. They're still working, and they're still doing music. But they find it hard, being associated with their father, because when they have interviews, people just talk about John, and it's it can be quite difficult for them, because they want to be an artist in their own right, and so that there is that. But talented in their own right.
Yeah. Well, we've lost a lot of great celebrities. television performers and also musicians throughout the last couple of years especially. They seem to have been, kind of that same gap or that same expedited transition like in the 60s. I think the end of the 60s, there was a ton of them passing all at once. And I think that in the last couple of years, it was the same kind of thing. Anyway, Tom Petty comes to mind and, and all of that. But, going forward, what I really think that my listeners and everybody who's interested is that not only are you a historian, but you go out and you find new talent or you're excited about new talent. What's your favorite new band that you've seen lately?
My favorite new band? There is a lot that I've seen. It's just a hard one. There's a French band at the moment that I'm really, over the past weeks, that I've been listening a lot to. They're called La Femme.
Okay.
And they're very electronic, poppy, a little bit poppy, but they're very French. They're a French band. And they're fairly new. They're a fairly new band. There's quite a few groups. There's another band I'm liking at the moment from the UK called Girl Ray. They're quite a bit rocky, indie rocky kind of thing. They're fairly new, very young, but very good tunes. It's you see, there's a lot of things out there that people don't know about, that I've always said, have you heard this band, have you heard this, and they kind of look at you like, who's that,
Right.
So I just love to go out and discover new bands and local venues. I like small kind of venues because you get to connect with them as well, the groups and stuff. Right.
Well, this is an international radio station, and we have listeners from all over and down under. So, if you happen to make friends with Andy, make sure that if you see him, in the crowd, make sure that you have a connection with him and say hi and chat him up a little bit. There was one genre that, here in where I am in Austin, Texas is, of course, country music. And we always get a lot of influence of country music here. And it has really crossed over a lot of boundaries with pop and etc. Anyway, and rock and roll a little bit thrown in there too. So, country music was, for these parts where I'm at, was really the staple, along with a good steak and a corn in the cob and baked beans. So, and all kind of went together, and cowboy boots and horses. So, and it is a fact. It is the truth. So, and so I just wanted to shout out that country music is another one fine genre too, especially here in Texas. Oh, you know what, Andy? I could talk to you for another 2 hours about music. We got to celebrities and, really down to the nitty gritty. So I'm going to have to ask you to come back on another time. Would that be okay?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Good.
I really enjoyed being on your show today.
Oh my gosh. Love to hear your voice and your sweet spirit and all of your just all of your joy about music and experiencing it. And it is it's in your DNA, and you just you thrill your soul every single day by by listening to it and bringing it to others. Make sure now, Andy, can you talk a little bit about your show and how they tune in?
Yes, I do a show on it's on live stream on Sundays, and the address is www.livestream.com/Andy. So it's pretty simple. And that's on, I'm wary, I'm not quite sure of the times over there compared to ours, but in the UK it starts at 6 p.m. in the UK, and it's on for 2 or 3 hours, so it's quite a long show. But I pack a lot of themes in each week. It's more of a theme-based show that I look at, and I feature albums, old tracks, new artists, all sorts, and it's very eclectic. So there's all sorts going on that I like to feature. So
it's quite a treat, and treat yourself, and have a little reminder to tune in to Andy's show. You will absolutely love it. Thank you so much for coming on, and until next time, Andy, make sure that those angels are protecting you and guiding you. You and everyone that's listening, thank you so much for coming along with me this hour. Thanks so much again. Good night, everyone.